So this evening I am going to make a go at doing this. I don't know how well it's going to go. This is the follow-up to the reading I had with Hogarth from Hogarth's Global Astrology. Again, to do my chart. This is my Vedic chart and my new archetypes. So I'm just showing you this because this shows the positions of the original reading that I had, which are the darker figures, darker letters, and they now show where the corresponding new cards actually placed. So in Vedic astrology, my rising sign is Scorpio. That will be my first house. So if you work from that one, which is 1 at the bottom, it has the prostitute and then it has victim, victor written in it. So when I'm reading it out, this is the way around the chart that it works. So now that I've shown you that, let's see if I can transition over here to my notes. Yes, I wrote notes, not very clearly. I'm going to see if I can just stick this on here and then I can show you the cards as I go along. So, let me just try and get a little bit more organised. Move it back a bit. So the way that it works is basically each of the houses is the same as the zodiac, normal zodiac that you would see, but what it will be is that Vedic is, I think, 24 degrees behind Western astrology. So your signs do change, and so do the placements of the stars and planets. So I'm going to read through and I'll show you the cards as I go along. So the first house for me is Scorpio. Now the first house for this relates to ego, I am. So originally, let's just see. Originally, when I did this first time, these are 2 of the cards that came out again. So the prostitute came out. It was the first card for the first house. So accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. Places material consideration security above self-empowerment. So that was where the card was originally. Now, what came out this time was the victim card. So Hogarth uses this as both a victim and victor, because what it does is, as it says, the light attribute is prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. The shadow attributes are playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries. So it's quite relevant at the moment that this card came up, because one of the things that I am working on is how to get myself out of victim mentality, how to prevent myself being the victim. And it kind of made sense that it came out in the first house, because, as he said, it's showing that I'm working on not being the victim, and I'm not allowing myself to be victimized. So in fact, what it is doing is showing me how to empower myself. And again, some of the work that I am doing is working on my energy. You can see the energy field around her in some respects, that's what I'm doing, because what I have to do is learn to protect myself energetically, and also recognise how others work and not be drawn into that situation. So that's the first card. So the second house, which would be, let me just check, Sagittarius. Now, this is where the victim card was the last time. So the second house is to do real estate and savings. I have. Now, that was the victim, and now it's the priest. So it facilitates spiritual commitments, serves as a channel of spiritual energy, and allows me to earn from this. So basically, it's an interesting card because, as I say, this is what I'm using this channel to be, is to help bring through, well, kind of be a channel to help give guidance to others, but also it does show that this could be a beneficial way for me to make enough to be comfortable, I'll put it that way. And that it was a positive card to come out in that position. Okay. So the third house is PR and communications. The word is I say. It was the goddess. Now, this time, it's the alchemist. So the alchemist originally was in the 12th house. So the last time, actually it does make sense, because the last time is, let me just read the 12th to you, just briefly. 12th house is to do with, oh, I didn't write it down, did I? It's basically the outer world, the otherworldly. It's more of a spiritual realms. So at that time, it actually shows that the alchemist is where I was working on to create. So I actually feel that what it's done is the PR communications, I say in the third house, shows that there's a transformation, there's golden wisdom being used, and that again, it's showing how I can use this for education and speech, and also the possibility that what I want to create, I can. So, you know, that's why I'm sticking with this, and I'm expanding my knowledge. So, the fourth house is away from home, away from work, home, and I need. It was the rescuer, and now I got the gambler. So what we were discussing about this is it's that there is a willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you, but it's giving an indication that this is a time for me to take a leap of faith. And although it's, you know, with a gambler, you can be a gambler and just take it all at risk, or you can play the odds. You can count cards. So I'm taking it to be that because it's in the away from work and home, it's also possibly giving the opportunity that now is the time for me to take a chance on where I want to be, because there is a possibility of me moving elsewhere. So the 5th house was the event manager. It's to do with luck and opportunities. It's I create. Now this was the mentor card that I had the last time. Now it's the prostitute. So this is also, it can also be the consultation to others. So again, with it being the prostitute card, what do prostitutes do? They accentuate the challenges of surviving without negotiating the power of the spirit. So again, it's an interesting card because, as Hogarth said, it almost again highlights, with it being the event manager, what do you need to be good at? Do you need to be good at creating what people want? So the prostitute, if they're good at the role, they give people what they want. So it is almost as if highlighting that if I'm prepared to listen and work on what people want and build my platform around that, that again, it could provide a stable opportunity in relation again to which one was it? So the real estate and savings. It kind of ties in that, obviously again there's this link to it should be profitable. So the 6th house. Now this kind of made sense because the 6th house relates to work and strategy, health and healing. The words are I work. So last time this was the healer card. This time I got the Avenger. So the light attributes are desired to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on the behalf of society and oneness. The shadow side, resorting to violence in the name of a cause. Well, we're not going to go down that path. However, it did make sense that with it being in work and strategy and I work, it kind of at the moment represents who I am in the workplace. And it goes back to the 1st house where I'm kind of like seeing it as the victim, whereas really I want to be the one that puts the record straight and sorts out the crap. But it also shows that, again, with what I really want to do, which is possibly doing the cards, and I'm looking to do an astrology course as well, it's also indicating that it's got that balance to I think probably indicate that I can look at things and find the balance between the two, so that if someone's out of balance, I can suggest a way for them to come back into themselves and find a better way of doing things. So, when we move into the 7th house, so the 7th house was the subconscious, and it's also others and clients, contracts and business, and it's I balance. So originally this one was the saboteur. So the saboteur's moved, but this time the card that I got was scribe. So the light attributes are preserving knowledge and information. The shadow attributes is altering facts and plagiarizing others' works. So with this, it was saying public image, historian, The card directly above, this is again something that comes into play on the last set of the houses, as it works in conjunction with whatever was the first house. So in this respect, the above card was the victim victor. So again, it could be to using my own story to build on my client work. And in some ways, again, it does make sense, because I feel I have a certain empathy with people who are, I think in some ways, unable to defend themselves. But also, I think it's important to document what's actually gone before. So, I'll do the diagonals in a moment, but the 8th house relates to tax and accounts and family. The words are I use. Now, originally, this was invisible child. So now, the card that we get is the judge. So the scales of justice are good judgment, weighing up balance, integration of balance, finding best way to move forward, integration of objectives. So again, it's a case of, I think, finding the balance in family. Again, the distribution of power is finding a way to find harmonious relations. And again, what I'll do is I'll mention this in a moment where it comes into play. Because again, what was above this was the priest card. And then this was diagonal to the victim and the alchemist. So, the 9th house relates to mission and philosophy. It is I seek. Now, originally I had the warrior card. Now, this is where the saboteur card came out. And I think what it is that it highlights your fear of self-empowerment and the changes it would bring to your life. I think what it's doing now is, rather than I'm sabotaging, I am actually looking at what's been sabotaged and trying to put it back into place. So that really makes sense to me, is that at the moment, especially with it being in the mission philosophy, when you are a saboteur, that means you're good at hiding or creating sabotage without it being easy to be found. I would say that is where the point is that because of my experience with being a saboteur in this respect, I think now the mission is to highlight where things are being sabotaged and using the influence of the saboteur to actually undo or repair what has been done. So that's 9th house. Trying to turn bloody pages. Here we go. Right, so the 10th house. So the 10th house is promotion, recognition, and I achieve. Now that was the judge. Now the card is the pioneer. So for the house of I achieve, passion for doing and creating what has not been done before. And again, in some respects, this looks to be what I'm trying to do now in terms of this channel. Okay, everyone has cats. There's people who do card readings. But again, I think it's a case of it's not doing overly generalized readings. It's not giving... I'll be honest with you. I think if you do a reading, you need to be honest to give both sides, because not all card readings are going to come out positive and give you happy and glorious. Again, if you've watched any of the readings where people have asked about, do I find my partner, or you know, am I going to get the job, the readings didn't come out the way that those people wanted. But it did resonate with them as to what they needed to do. So getting the Pioneer in the I Achieve 10th house really indicates to me that this is something I'm going to stick with. Okay, now I'm not going to do that one, only because in the 11th house... Oh, that was the other thing with the 10th house. The cards diagonal were Alchemist and the Prostitute, which means giving myself to others. But also, I think what it was indicating is it's a chance to not just give myself to others, but turn what others are experiencing into a more positive way of being, and helping them to grow and move forward. So, I haven't got a card for this one, and this is because this is the card that you have to choose one of them, and it's one which is exclusive to Hogarth. So in the 11th house, the house gains, giving back. Now that was the Seeker, and now it's the abandoned child. It also relates to friends and associates. It's the fear of rejection, that personal feelings of void, transcends healthy and feels abandoned by life. Now, I think the other thing that it does is that I'm working on the abandoned child. So I think it's the point of it coming up in the 11th house is to say that the opportunities that I have to look at what the abandoned child is. So not loved, second best, left out, orphaned, and to use those feelings to provide a more positive outlook. So again, with this one, the diagonals to this were the Gambler and the Avenger. So again, what we were saying was that with it being the abandoned child, it's a time for me to now use the Gambler to take a chance, but also be the Avenger in the respect of having seen what is wrong. I have the opportunity now to put it right. So in the 12th house, this was the Alchemist. So the last card that we had was the Knight. So I didn't really write down what the 12th house. The 12th house is more of a mystical house. It's to do with kind of like outer worlds, spirituality. It can be, I think it's the occult as well. So basically, loyalty, romance, chivalry, a love of honour, so basically it's a case of that with it coming out in the 12th house, it's a case of now being the protector, the valiant, it was above it was the Avenger. So it's changing direction, it's charging, and it's bravery was what we discussed. And I think also what it could be is it could be standing up. As I said, I want to be able to give people who feel abandoned or belittled, giving them a voice and giving them ways in which they can help to protect themselves, but also to find their inner strength. So let's see, what else did we cover? I'm using the Judge card. So again, it was yeah, I think that was just about it. I'm going to just quickly see. Let's just do that for a second. It's a very fascinating thing to read. Now, I don't think I can get it. If I can get up what Hagar finally wrote, I'll show you. 2 seconds. Let's see if I can read this. Just realising how bad my eyesight is at the moment. So, I'm just going to hopefully just push this down. So, if we can see this at all. So I'm just going to read the, so the 12th house, he calls it the basement. So the subconscious is taboo, bondage, I'll skip on that, the deepest shadow, collective unconscious, karmic lessons, dreams, all in one. One is in the all, the dragons, and that was the thing that was quite funny because obviously the card that came out was the Knight. So I like the idea of dragons, so I'm not going to slag them off, but I did find it quite funny that the mention of dragons obviously did bring out the fact that the Knight was there. So I need to develop my inner strength, minimize negative talk about myself, and take adventures with your inner child. So it is a case at the moment I'm working on my inner child. So the key that emerged was that it's mostly changing your thought about yourself. That needs to change. The abandoned child needs more healing, understanding that people come to you for a reason. But I also see that some of your clients will become friends. Continue to work on your skills and put one foot in front of the other. The more you work on your skills to become more confident, the more confidence you'll gain. But the best learning is reading. So keep going. So, I mean, as I said, to me it was a very positive experience. I really enjoyed it. It's very enlightening. There's a lot to take in. But between the last reading I had and this, it does show a level of development and change. The other thing that I would say is that if you were to do this and you plan to then go back for another reading, don't be afraid to change the cards. If you look at the video where I've picked the cards, obviously you can see how I do it. I don't look at the cards. I'm not influenced by them. I let the pendulum do the work, because I feel that the pendulum is going to give a more subconscious view than just reading through the cards and just picking the ones you want, because it takes out that human side of you going, I like that. Because we don't always see what's not good about ourselves. And by doing it this way, you have such an opportunity to actually pick out cards that give you more of a dynamic view of yourself. Anyway, I hope this is useful. I'll put the link up to Hogarth. If you want to check him out on YouTube, it's Hogarth Global Astrology. The link to his website is there, and I would say check him out and see what he does. Okay, thanks a lot.